Hello everyone and welcome back to This Is Real Life. I'm your host Sheri, and on today's DIY Wednesday video, we're finally finishing the tile. So if you watched last Friday's real life video, you know that I had a breakdown in the middle of the tile extravaganza. But that's okay. I'm over it now. It's been a few days. I've let the kitchen just sit in its shit show, and now I am ready to get back on it. So we are at the point where we have all of our tile laid, and now we need to go and cut the little pieces of tile for those spaces that aren't accommodating a full width of tile. In order to do a straight line cut, it's pretty easy if you have the right tool. Now, if you remember in part one of this video, I mentioned that I purchased a handheld tool. It didn't work. I took that right back. I did end up purchasing something a little bit more expensive, not a shit ton more expensive, just like $22, $25. It's this Anvil 14-inch tile cutter. I picked this up at the Home Depot, no big deal. They have many different versions of this, and I got the cheapest one. This is what it looks like. Remember, like a giant paper cutter. So before we can begin cutting any tile, we need to measure how little we need to cut the tile. So let's do that. So I am at the outermost edge of where I want my tile to stop. You can see here is my vertical line. I have it in line with the upper cabinets, and these areas here don't accept a full tile. I need to cut a piece to fit here. So I just have a ruler. I want to measure it with a grout line. So I don't want to cut my tile from the edge of where I need it to the edge of this tile. I want to leave a spacer width so that I have a nice grout line, like 1 3/4 inch. And I know these should, because I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know they should all be the same, but I kind of just run my ruler because you might think it's the same, but it might not be. So just kind of measure, because then you can kind of assembly line it if all of the tiles that you are cutting for an area are the same length. So now that we have our 1 3/4 inch measurement, we're gonna take that over to our tile cutter and we're gonna cut our tiles. It's pretty easy once you see it. So let's get into it. So once you have your tile measurement and your little tile cutter, you are going to want to take your tile. My tiles are on a sheet, not a big deal. I'm just gonna cut the mesh so I can get one that I can chop in half with my tile cutter. If your tile isn't on a sheet, you don't need to cut anything away because you already have a single tile. So now that I have the one on your tile cutter, there is going to be a beveled line, I guess you could say. You wanna make sure that however long you need your tile, line it up with where the blade is going to cut. It does have this little guide. However, because my tiles are so thin, the tile just slides right under the guide. So I don't even bother with the guide, but if your tiles are thick, you can adjust this guide so that it butts right up against your tile and holds it in place. Now, what you are gonna wanna do, it's gonna seem weird and crazy. You're gonna take your handle and you're gonna lift it up on your tile cutter. You can see that there's a little rollerball blade here. You wanna get it right to where your tile begins. Firmly press down and push forward to score your tile. So I'm gonna push down and forward. And then once you've done that, you'll lift up and you'll notice your tile cutter has like a dangly kickstand. That dangly kickstand straddles your score mark. You'll press down on the dangly kickstand and then use some pressure and it snaps your tile perfectly in a beautiful straight line. I know, right? It's super easy. This piece of tile will fit exactly in that little corner that I need it to fit. So now that I know that my remaining 3 tiles for this area are the same length, I can continue cutting 3 more pieces of tile. So the same thing, it's just a step and repeat. Get your single tile, hold it firmly in place, press firmly and forward firmly to score your tile. Lift your handle, get that kickstand to straddle your score mark, and then press down. And voila, as easy as that, your tile is scored and cut. So now Basically, you just need to go around the room to all of your straight line cuts that need to be made, measure them, get them all done so that you can then take your thin set, put those puppies up, and then we're gonna cut around the horrible windowsill or any areas that need a curved cut. But don't worry, we have the tools. So I want to go through and just measure all of my straight line cuts really quick and get those slapped up, and then we can focus on cutting any curved pieces of tile. Okay, so for the most part, I have all of my straight cuts made. My plan is that I want these on as long as possible so that they kind of dry. So by the time I get the curve cuts on, maybe, just maybe, I could start grouting this damn kitchen. I have my bucket of the thin set. I was gonna use the rest of the bag of the mix that I bought, but that was just like too much. When this bucket costs like 18 bucks or something like that, even though I have the mix there and I could have gotten the black bucket and I could have mixed more, the only problem is I don't need that much and I didn't want to waste any of that. Now, for these tiles that are just individual, I find it easier to just get a plastic knife and then just coat the back of your tile with a pretty thin amount. These little tiles don't need that much thin set is the good thing. Once you've got that on there, you'll want to go ahead and just place this down, press it into place. Make sure your gaps for your grout lines are all the same. Wipe away any excess and voila. So yeah, man yourself with a plastic knife and your little baby tiles and just start buttering the bread and placing it on, buttering the bread and placing it on. That is what I am going to do, and then we'll cut the curved tiles. Okay, shit is finally coming together. I have pretty much all of my straight cuts done and in place. So now the fun begins. We gotta make the curved cuts. Around the windowsill, for example. Yeah, this exact area is what caused me to have a mental breakdown. But don't worry, I'm over it. Today's a new day. Everything's gonna work out fine. We have the proper tools and we have the proper technique, which I'm gonna show you right now. First off, you wanna get some paper. You wanna take a full tile and you wanna trace it on your paper. So now I have my tile paper and I want to mimic where the tile is going to be cut. Hold it up to here and I'm gonna make a little line going in and I'm gonna make a little line going up. Gently curve that to mimic the shape of this curve in the windowsill. Voila. Let's fit that one more time. I think I want to just trim this just a hair more here. Perfect. If only cutting tile was this easy. We know our little piece of paper fits perfectly. If this was a tile, we could lay it now, but it's not. So now that you have your template, you want to take your tile and you want to cut it to size first. So use your tile cutter, do that straight line cut, then we can go in to making the curved cut. So voila, here's my template, fits beautifully. Now, what I've learned is if your tile is pretty small, dare I say the hack I learned is I got some painter's tape and covered my tile in painter's tape and then traced my template onto the painter's tape. I'm not wrapping it all the way around, I'm just kind of covering the top of it. Take your template, lay it on there, and then go ahead and trace your pattern onto the tape that you just applied to your tile. Now, we have to cut. So to cut, we do need a special tool. Thankfully, it's not horribly expensive, and thankfully, it is a tool that you will not only use for tile, but you can use for a myriad of other things. And that tool is the Dremel. I have the Dremel 200 series, probably the least expensive Dremel that they sell. I want to say this Dremel is like $22, $25. It'll be just fine. And like I said, the Dremel can be used for a million other things, not just cutting tile. It can be used for carving, sculpting, cutting, cleaning, sanding. So it's not like you're spending $22 or $25 just for this one tile job and then you're never going to pick up the Dremel again. You probably will. Not sponsored, sponsored by Dremel because I bought this with my own money from the Home Depot a while back. So this Dremel comes with some accessories. None of the accessories that come in this box are what you need for your tile cutting. You need to make sure that you buy separate accessories that are diamond. I know, so luxurious. Rotary diamond cutting discs. Now, these aren't Dremel brand, and let me tell you, they're way cheaper than Dremel brand. One little Dremel diamond cutting straight tool is like $16. These Dremel cutting discs were $6.99. The word diamond is what you need to cut the tile. Press this button, unscrew this black thing, just like a drill. It has little teeth in there that open up. You'll put your stick inside and tighten up this black thing. There's a hole at the top. That hole gets this little tiny screw. You're gonna take your fresh, new diamond disc, take your little screw, feed it through the little hole of the diamond disc, then put that little screw on the top here, and then screw it on tight. We have our Dremel outfitted with our diamond disc blade thing. Because the tile that you are cutting is so very tiny. I mean, it's tiny. You don't want to be holding this with your hand and trying to Dremel. There's a couple of things you can do. At first, I just got one of my clamps and I was trying to clamp it to the edge of my countertop, but because my countertop is slippery, the tile was moving. I ended up having to go out to the shed in the backyard where there's a hand-me-down vice grip that I'm gonna put this tile in to hold it very, very secure while I use the Dremel to cut out this curve. You gotta figure out how you can hold your tile very securely, either with a clamp, with a vise, with a whatever. Let's go out to the shed and go over the best way I have discovered to cut these with this. Now, I kind of made it sound like you only need that diamond disc cutting tool, but you will also need a diamond, just kind of like a round. It just looks like a stick, but it has sparkly diamonds on the end. This is kind of like a grinding situation that's gonna happen. Once you're done with your diamond disc, then you'll switch your Dremel to this little tool. I bought a pack of little diamond tips. They were pretty inexpensive. And I'll link everything below if I can find them on the Amazons for you. But just know, diamond tip. What we're gonna do, we're gonna take our disc and we're gonna use it to cut in here and up here on our line as much as we can before we get to the curve. Once we're as close to the curve as possible, we're gonna switch from this tip to one of these diamond tips. And then we're gonna try to grind that curve until this section of tile breaks away. Now, don't be alarmed. It's gonna break away and leave you with like jaggedness at the curve. You're gonna use this little diamond tip here to like finesse that curve and go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth until you get that really nice curve. Do not rush this. Don't rush it. It's going to take a while. If you try to rush it, if you try to force it, if you try to do anything other than go slow, you will crack your tile. But also, if you do crack your tile, don't get upset about it. Just go get another tile, take your paper template, tape it up, trace a new shape, and start again. This is my little vise here. It came with the house, it came with the shed. I have a towel because this is metal and I don't want it to crack my tile. So I'm just putting a towel in between the teeth, making sure that the towel does not extend past the vise grip because I don't want to Dremel my towel. So I'm gonna stick that in there, tighten up my vise. Now the long process begins. Dremel, I'm gonna go down and in until I'm almost to that curve. Turn it on and go down. Now don't mind those sparks. It does spark, but it's not gonna catch on fire. Don't worry, just keep going with it. So, woo, smells like the 4th of July. So once you've gone down enough to where this hole part is gonna touch the top of the tile, that's when you wanna start working this way. So you're gonna follow your line this way, which kind of does make it a little bit difficult because you gotta be real steady about it, real gentle about it. So now that I've gone down as far as I can go, I'm gonna start here and try to follow this line down a little bit. Okay, so I think I've gone as far as I can go from the top. Now I'm gonna work my way in from this side. So now I'm gonna change my tip from disc to one of those roundedy ones. And then I'm just gonna work my way until hopefully this part snaps off, and then I can finesse that curve. Okay, I think this might be a little better. You can see here where I'm cutting, so I'm just gonna go down and across. Also too, try not to breathe in the tile dust. I mean, maybe wear a mask. We all have them. We're just gonna keep going and going. I told you, it's a slow process. It's a tedious process, but it's a process that needs to be done if you want to cut a nice curve in your tile. Let's go. Okay, yay, we've broken through. Now you can see it's kind of jaggedy. Here's where my curve needs to be, but here's where it broke off. So now comes the really tedious task of finessing it. So you're gonna wanna take one of these like thicker diamond bits, and now I'm just gonna, and then we can go in and put this one tile into place. Just finesse, finesse, finesse. Take it slow, take it easy, finesse it. That's the key. A little from the top, a little from the side, a little from the top, a little from the side, until it all comes out. Ah, suki. Look at that sweet ass curve. Voila! Now we are gonna have to go in and fit it. And yes, do I see it's a little jaggedy here? I see that. It's a little bit jaggedy. Grout's gonna go in there. It's gonna be fine. Our main goal is to make sure this curve fits around that curve that we need it to fit around. So let's go fit it and see if we have to finesse it a little bit more or if it's perfect. All right, are you excited? We're checking the fit. You know, I'd love to say, got it on the first try, but I don't know about that. Let's get it in here. Oh my God, did I get it on the first try? I mean, I'd like to finesse. Wait, let's see. As I drop and break it, I feel like I got it kind of on the first try. See how I'm a little bit higher? I go up here. Well, I really need to carry this height all the way around to here. There's a ginormous fucking part of me that does not want to do it and wants to call this one perfect. I mean, I don't know, it's pretty fucking perfect. I say I'm going with it. So yeah, that's how you cut a curve. No tears, I haven't thrown anything through a window. We're fine. So I have this one, I have that one. I think I have something over there around behind the stove and a couple things because I have outlets and lights underneath the cupboards, but not too many. So what I'm going to do is assembly line this bitch. I'm gonna take my paper and I'm gonna make templates for every one that I need to make a template for. Then I'm going to take all of my templates, transfer those to my tiles, take all my tiles outside, and then Dremel the shit out of them, and then come back in and put them up. I almost have all of my tiles. I've cut 1,000,000 paper templates. They're all around the kitchen. I've taped up and marked my lines and shaded out the part that needs to be cut away. I've got my little assembly line going. I think I have like 2 tiles behind the stove that need a special cut. But after that, we're gonna cut all these and then I'm gonna lay them all and then we're gonna grout. Yay! We are almost done. Almost. We're almost. We are almost done. It's really coming together. It's looking really good. These, I'm not gonna lie, these ones that are more L-shaped with skinnies right here, those are gonna be tough, but that's okay. We'll figure it out. Okay, yay. We are ready to grout. It is officially that time. The end of the tiling project is coming to an end and I couldn't be more thrilled. Grouting is pretty easy. I got a bag of powder that you have to mix. So just like the thin set, just read the directions on the back of your bag of powder. I bought a 25-pound bag, so I'm only gonna mix half of that, just exactly like I did with the thin set. Then you're gonna need another, I know it's like, again, another special tool. It's kind of the bad side of tiling. The tools that you need, some of them you're only going to use for tiling. However, the tools that you need pretty much range from about $20 to $25. There's that. But on the upside, you get a whole new nice tile job. So for the grout, before you pre-mix it, you're gonna want the tool. There's two tools. Tool number one, it looks like a trowel. However, it's kind of soft and it's smooth on all sides. This is a grout float trowel. This is what you're gonna apply the grout with. Then the other thing you need is like a big multi-purpose heavy duty sponge. You wanna get the grout that doesn't fall into the cracks off of the tile before it dries. You have about 30 minutes, according to my grout bag, to wipe your tiles off clean. So this, which I already owned, it's pretty dirty. I don't think these go for that much, maybe 10 bucks, not sure. This was like $2.99. So these two tools and your grout are all you need to finish your tiling project. We're gonna do it. Let's get into it. Grout is mixed and ready. I'm telling you guys, I couldn't be more excited. Grouting is not gonna take that long. Yes, you gotta wipe it on, wipe it off. Fine. Just think Karate Kid and you'll be done in an instant. So the grout I got was Polyblend Sanded Grout. It's in Arctic White because according to the gentleman at the Home Depot, Arctic White is a whiter white than just white. Now, before you begin, you want to survey the scene. If any of your thin set came through to where it already looks like the tile is grouted, there's no room for grout to go there. So you are going to want to go around and kind of chip away any place where your thin set has kind of spooged through your tile joints. You can do that with the Dremel. You could put a little tiny bit on the Dremel. You could use my almost new favorite tool. This thing, it is just a painter's tool. This might be beating out the jigsaw. I know, right? But I've used this tool for a million things. I just used it to clean out the bucket that I use to mix my grout. This does have a little bit of a pointy edge. I was thinking that I would take the pointy edge, chisel, but then I also might grab the Dremel. I have this area. This was like, our first area. It didn't go so great. So I need to get rid of thin set here. I mean, there's like a place over there. There's not too many places. And then we can start grouting. Yay! Once you have gotten all those goobers out of your grout lines and you've taken out all of your spacers, which you don't have to throw away, put them back in that spacer bag for a future tiling project. There's no reason why you need to throw those spacers away unless you know you're never going to tile again. So once all of your spacers are gone, your grout is mixed, you're going to take your spreading trowel, stick it on in here, get, I don't know, that much, sounds good. And then you're just gonna go and wipe and press all of the grout into those lines. Don't worry about the grout getting on the tiles. That's inevitable. It's gonna happen. That's why you have your big sponge. And you do have time. The grout's not gonna dry on you in a second. Do a big area, then go wipe it. You do want your grout to kind of dry in the cracks. Otherwise, if you take a damp sponge, you're just gonna wipe out all your grout in your grout lines. Like I said, it's pretty easy. This is the easiest part of the job and it's the most satisfying. Kind of smear it all around, get it up in there. You may have to go through and do grouting twice, depending on the shrinkage.
It shrinks?
You'll go around the room, wipe it all down. Then by the time you're back to the start again, you might be able to tell if you need to put another thin layer of grout in there because you don't want big divots. You want a very even coating from tile to grout line. Oh my God. Seriously, guys, it's happening. It's coming together. Grout, wipe, grout, wipe, grout, wipe. Once you've made a proper mess of everything, you'll start to see on your tiles, they'll begin like a haze. That's when you know you can probably start to wipe down. In some hard to reach areas, don't feel bad. I dipped my finger right into the grout and like went around up here with my finger and just pressed it in. It's fine, don't worry about it. Just get your sponge, it's damp, it's not saturated. Just run it across your tiles. Oh, so pretty. The problem is you're gonna have to keep rinsing and wringing because you don't wanna wipe your tiles again with this part here. So flip your sponge, wipe across, flip your sponge to a clean area, wipe across. You may have to do this several times until you notice there is not a haze on your tile. But you guys, seriously, are you dying? Are you having serious heart attacks right now with how amazing this looks? Now I'm wiping it in this one direction. I'll want to go to the other side of my counter and wipe it in this direction as well. Everything looks good. All grout is filled in. And you just keep going and going. And it's amazing. I told you, this is the easiest part of the job. If you had like a helping hand, one person could go and grout everything and the next person could follow behind with wiping. That's pretty much it. Tiling, done. Okay, so for the most part, I am done grouting and just in the nick of time because my pizza delivery just showed up and I need a break. I do have a couple detail things that I want to do. Don't look right here. That's where the old door jamb was removed and I haven't quite figured that out. But in between that bottom tile and that baseboard, there's a little skinny situation where I think I need to like cut a small tile, and that also happens behind the stove, which no one will see, but I'll know. And a job worth doing is a job worth doing right. So, look at that. Next time you guys will see it, the kitchen should be clean. Everything will be pristine. Yay! Okay, guys, it is done. Are you ready for the final reveal? Here it comes! Dun, 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 dun. I mean, seriously. I don't know if you remember what this backsplash looked like before, but look what it looks like now. It is amazing. Don't mind that right there. That's wall, you know, from the patch job we did. I just need to paint that. But look, I never had tile behind the stove before. This was all wall and this was all wall all the way down. This was wall right here too. Remember, the backsplash started here and went around to here. Can you believe it? I love it. It looks so damn good. I know, you can't believe it. Who would have thought 2 weekends and an entire breakdown later that we would have this? I know, I'm pretty pleased. So really, here are my final thoughts. If you've never tiled a backsplash before, it's nothing to be intimidated by at all. It's actually fairly easy. Time consuming? Yes. A little frustrating at times? For certain. But if you have the right tools and you're patient, you can do it. I promise you. This kitchen, not super huge. You know, according to my layout, I maybe tiled about 30, 40 square feet. Not very much tile in the grand scheme of things. The guy at the Home Depot, he didn't do his math right. He sent me home with 100 square feet of tile and I didn't need that much. Having to go around town to 3 different Home Depots to purchase 10 boxes of 12 tiles each, and I returned 6 of those boxes. So make sure your tile helper does your square feet calculation right so that you don't overbuy tile and then have to just return it later. But other than that, and a little bit of the corner cutting, but we worked through it, tiling a backsplash is not that difficult at all. You could totally do this. Now, again, there are tools that are required. You can't do it. You cannot do it without that like paper cutting tile tool. Tile nippers, pretty much a good thing to have, those little nippers, and then a Dremel, and then, you know, a trowel and whatnot. So tools and tile and the grout in the thin set for a kitchen my size, you know, not that big. I'm probably into it for a good $250, which I don't think is bad for the look that is achieved. If you have an outdated backsplash and you got a couple of $100 and a couple of weekends, you could totally redo your kitchen. And I'm just looking around and it's like, I feel like this was the way my kitchen was always meant to be and it just never was. Now it's seen its true life and I love it. Now, obviously, I gotta paint. Plan is we're gonna do wallpaper. It'll probably be a DIY, so be on the lookout for that. If you've never hung wallpaper before, I have. I don't mind it. I think it's actually cool. I love wallpaper. I think I'm gonna single-handedly bring it back. But that's for another day. But this kitchen, yeah, you could easily do it. Now, I did do the grout one time all the way around, and I let that sit for 24 hours, and then I came back and did another thin layer of grout. And while in my mind, I want to say that extra layer was worth it, because there were a little, upon close inspection in some areas, there were like a little air pocket hole, you know. As I was doing it, I was like, no, this totally needs to be done. This is totally worth it. But then towards the end, I was like, did it really need to be done? I don't necessarily know that I actually needed to spend the time to put a second layer of grout in. For my money, it doesn't look that different. Those little tiny areas where maybe I saw a little divot in the grout, I don't really think justified me spending another, 2 hours regrouting everything, but that's neither here nor there. One thing that I do have to do is I have to seal the grout. If anything splashes, food-wise, this is a kitchen, onto your grout that is stainable, it will stain your white grout. Could you just scrub it and bleach it? Yeah, you could. But an alternative to that would be sealing it. And they make grout sealer. It just comes in like a container. It's liquid. You can literally dip a Q-tip in and then just run, a Q-tip, a little artist paintbrush from the Dollar Tree. You could just dip it in and then run the sealant on all of your grout lines. Sounds like a shit job and sounds like it's gonna take forever. And hopefully I do it soon because I don't want my grout to stain. But it is something that you should probably do. Seal your grout so that you don't get stains on it later in life. And that's it. And then you're done. And you have a whole new kitchen. Like I said, if you've never tiled a backsplash before, it is not hard. As I always say, if I could do it, you could do it. And if you have tiled a backsplash before and you've cut around the godforsaken windowsills, if you've cut around curves before, do you have a trick or a tip that you can leave in the comments below for other people who might be interested? Because I will tell you, the Dremel worked fine. It worked just fine. However, it took a long time, and there were quite a few curves that needed to be cut, and I broke some tiles, and it was a learning curve, I'll just say that. Once I got it, it was fine, but I would be interested to know some other tricks, tips, tools, what have you, for cutting nice, clean, precise curves in your tile. So if you have tiled before, let me know your tricks and tips, and let everybody else know your tricks and tips too. So yeah, that is it. We have tiled an entire kitchen and it looks amazing. If you guys are thinking about it, I say you do it. It really doesn't take long. 2 weekends, maybe 1 weekend if you don't have a breakdown in the middle of it, and then done. Let me know if you're thinking about retiling your kitchen. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. Be sure to ring that notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of the DIY Wednesday videos I push out, which is every other Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. Be sure to share this video with your family and friends. And as always, thanks for hanging out.